afternoon. My name is Rachel Ashley, and today I will be talking to you about increasing the accuracy of estimates at All Seasons Sports Center in Worcester, Ohio. Have you ever been the victim of an inaccurate estimate? You got to get your brakes fixed, you're expecting $50, magically you have $150. Or the guy comes to fix your furnace and all of a sudden you have a $500 bill. Or how about those 2-for-1 specials at the cell phone dealers, where they say you buy one phone, you get the second one free, but they fail to mention the $250 activation fee? If you have, you understand that it's just not a good thing. So that is why I have decided to focus my integrated research project on increasing the accuracy of the estimates at All Seasons Sports Center. Today we'll talk about a little history of All Seasons. We'll talk about the service department itself and what we do, what the problem is as far as how these inaccurate estimates are affecting the dealership. Go through a little bit of a review of my research, and I will tell you the interventions that I'm going to use and the data collection methods that I'm going to use to measure the results. All Seasons Sports Center started in 1966 by Tom Swisher in Smithville, Ohio in a barn as a Yamaha dealership. Since then, it has grown to sell and service 6 brands of motorcycles and ATVs, and is now located, of course, in Worcester, Ohio. All Seasons employs 16 employees. Of those 16 employees, 5 are in the service department. We are the largest department. The service department is responsible for the repair and maintenance of vehicles that customers bring in, as well as the pre-delivery and inspection of new vehicles when they come in. The service manager is responsible for all customer relations, so this is phone calls, face-to-face interaction with the customers, customer approvals, those kind of things, receiving warranty approval, filing warranty claims, and scheduling training for the technicians. The problem is that the service department does not generate enough money to pay for itself. So as a result, the parts department, the gun department, the sales department, they end up having to make up the difference between what the service department doesn't make and what it pays out. Here's a couple examples of why this is a problem or how this problem has come about. There's 3 different ROs here. One of them was quoted at, well, 2 of them were actually quoted at 5 hours labor. This is what we told the customer, it should take 5 hours. Well, one of those took 7.5 hours and the other one took 7 hours. The one, the customer agreed to pay 5.5 hours. The other, the customer agreed to pay 6.5 hours. But still, on those 2 ROs, we lost 2.5 hours. The last RO, we quoted the customer an hour. The job should have taken an hour. We ran into some problems and it ended up taking 3 hours. So we couldn't charge the customer those additional 2 hours because we quoted an hour labor. And like I said, the unexpected cost, you're expecting $90, you show up, magically you're $270. We don't really like to do that. So as a result, just from those 3 ROs, we lost 4.5 hours. $90 an hour, that's $405 that we lost just on 3 ROs for inaccurate estimates. The solution is to increase the accuracy of the estimates of the service department. Seems relatively simple, but as you're about to see, it's not. Causes of inaccurate estimates: service manager training, poor service technician training, or inaccurate service technician training, and the use of jargon. First, we'll talk about the training. Research in the automotive industry has come up with 2 main issues with performing a cost estimate, which is the estimates that we perform here. The first is internal practices, and the second is training. Internet training has become very big nowadays. You go on the internet, you watch a video, tells you how to do something. Very, very big. The study in the automotive industry actually showed that 92% of the businesses involved in their study were involved in the internet training. So out of our 6 dealerships, which of them offer internet training? All of them do. Every single one of our offer internet training. Honda even says that a Honda-trained technician will have the necessary knowledge and skills to quickly diagnose and repair the Honda vehicles that show up in your service shop. That's how much they boast about their training. Another part of the training, which I learned about in my research, was self-assessment. Self-assessment is defined as the ability to identify strengths and weaknesses and points for improvement in one's own performance. There's two types of self-assessment. The first one is an individual self-assessment. This is where if just the technician were to sit down after they did something really difficult, like replacing a clutch in a BMW, they were to sit down and just say, okay, well, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did wrong, I could have done this a little different, and it's just from their point of view. The second one involves feedback, and with a feedback self-assessment, this involves another person sitting down and giving that person cues. So as I go back in the service department and walk around and I hear a technician struggling with something, if I were to just make a little note about that and then go back at a later time when they sit down to do their self-assessment and say, well, hey, I noticed, in your assessment here, you didn't have anything about this. Sparks their memory, which makes them think about it, creates, the knowledge so they retain that information, and then hopefully helps them grow and not have those problems in the future, which help them create more accurate estimates the next time they do it. Accurate self-assessment distinguishes between successful and poor performers. As you can see, if you can accurately say, okay, this is what I did wrong, this is how I can do it better next time, versus the person that can't do that, the person that can is going to be better at their job. The use of jargon. I've handed you all sheets. Jargon is defined as the use of specialized or slang vocabulary. The first step in improving the estimation process is developing a standard terminology. The sheet in front of you all is what the technicians and I have come up with to try and standardize some of these terms that are used in the service department. Without something like this, if, say, you were to come in and say, oh, my bike's got a little bit of a rattle. Well, what's a rattle to you? Is it the same as it is to me? Is it the same as it is to the technician? Research says that when jargon is used, it's generally up to the listener to filter out the useful information. So to help aid in that, we've come up with the list of jargon. So that we're defining what is a clank, what is a clink, what's a thunk, what's a rattle, what's a major service. We're defining this for the customer, for the technician, to try to streamline the process. As far as for training, we've instituted that the service manager, which is myself, will complete the service writer training provided by Honda. The hope is that by taking this training, that the service writer, the service manager, will be able to write a better explanation of why the customers come in and get all the information that the technician needs to properly diagnose something. How will the results be measured? We'll be using the statistical t-test. The list of jargon will be measured by the diagnosis time, and the service writer training will be measured by the estimate accuracy. There will be a comparison of a few months, I think it's April, May, and June of this year, and we will be comparing them to July, August, and September of this year. The reason we're using those months is because we have the same staff on board, we have the same service writer on board, and no one, except for the service writer, will have any difference in training or abilities. There's been nothing done except for the jargon and the service writer training. So, to recap, All Seasons was created in 1966 by owner Tom Swisher. Started out as a Yamaha dealer, and now we are selling and servicing 6 brands. The problem, of course, is in the service department. We're not making any money, so we want to change that. To do that, we need to increase the accuracy of the estimates. To do that, we need to have additional training, which will be service manager training, and we need to institute a list of commonly used terms. Those will be instituted on July 16th. Well, they have been instituted. Project results will be in approximately 3 months. Until then, wish me luck. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
When you give an estimate, I know we've had these calls, you know, they call up and they say, oh, we got into your car and there's a couple other issues. Do you want us to repair them? If you do, here's what it is. And they leave it up to us at that time, but is that an option?
Yes, absolutely. If, say, we get a four-wheeler in here and it needs a carb clean and the customer's like, look, I know, it's been sitting, it needs a carburetor clean, you know, it's all clogged. First, what we do is we clean the carb. And if while we're cleaning the carb, we're like, you know, some of these jets need replaced, or biggest one that we get is mouse chewed through the wire, you need a new ignition switch. You know, we call first. We do what you have originally asked us to do, or if it's going to be something really costly, we'll just stop right then and there, because sometimes the customer's like, look, I need $300 more worth of work. I don't want to put the $100 into it now and then just have to do $300 later, so let's just stop until I have all the money to do it all at one time. So, but yeah, we do leave it up to the customer. We'll call, you know, recommend if they need new brakes, recommend if they need a new air filter, you know, but we do leave it up to the customer.
Did any of the previous training help any of the guys in the back?
Yes. Actually, we had a BMW technician of ours that went to training this past winter, and he was in a class with a guy from New York. Well, in the training, you're allowed to talk to the instructors and ask them questions and stuff. Well, the one guy asked a question, and the instructor gave him, you know, here's 2 different things that you can check. 2 weeks later, our technician, Aaron, after he got back from the training, had a bike with the same exact problem. So going through that training, he knew exactly, okay, I just saw this in training, and this is, check this, check this. He had it diagnosed and fixed, and the customer was called within an hour. So yes, it really does help, and we have had experiences like that. Any other questions?
How would you know if your dealer is ripping you off in the service department? What's the secret to finding a dealer that is not going to pad the estimate and pad the time that it actually took to repair the bike? Maybe you gave him an estimate of $300, and then you call him and say, oh, we found some more problems, we need to get into this. How does he know that was legitimate, and how does he know that you actually replaced the part that you said you did when he comes to pick up the bike?
Well, one thing that we do is we do not throw out any parts that are replaced on a customer's vehicle until the customers come and pick up their bike. And at the point that they come to pick up their vehicle, they can take those parts with them because they are their parts. If they would like us to dispose of them, they can. My technicians in the back really, really like to show people, look, this is what was causing the problem, and show them the part when they come to pick up their vehicle. I guess I would ask to see the old parts if they're replacing something. The other thing is our technicians clock in and out on all the ROs. So if you want to know, hey, how do I know that it really took 3.5 hours to do this? Well, I can show you. This is where it clocked in and clocked out on your repair order. And, you know, if there is a problem that something took longer than it should have, ask why. If it's an older vehicle and they say, you know, your nuts and bolts and stuff are seized on there, there's a good chance that is. But I'd ask to see the old parts, and, you know, word of mouth is a big thing. You ask other customers and, you know, do some research, look online, you know, see what other people have to say about the dealer. So.
Do you think people are led by the training certificates that I see in the hallways? Do they just a piece of paper, or do they really mean something to the customer? That
some customers, yes, some no. I know for BMW riders, it's a very big thing. They want to make sure that there is a BMW trained mechanic working on their bike, and the biggest reason is because it affects the warranty. If they don't have the work done by a BMW certified technician, they're not going to get the same out of their warranty. So some customers, yes, some no, but we like to keep them up and trained anyway. So,
Thank you.
any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a nice day.
Really?
That was really good. God, I have sweat